the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My statement on President Trump's historic speech last night and the unveiling of previously classified documents. At Greg Kelly USA on X and all social media, I declared it a, quote, historic moment. China did 1 billion times more damage in 2020 than any little stunt Russia pulled in 2016. These documents are real, and more are coming. Totally foolish fake news ignoring this. They pretended that Russia collusion was real, but it was a total hoax. As usual, like great figures and moments in history, contemporary accounts misunderstand, misconstrue Trump, and miss everything important. Bigger than Watergate, Iran-Contra, Teapot Dome, Deflategate, Keating 5 combined, multiplied by 1 trillion. More documents, information, declassification coming. That is how I feel, and I have the documents in my hand. And these documents are sensational. They are historic. They are disturbing. They are new to public consumption. These are not old. These are not, oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's unsubstantiated. Nope. I am holding in my hand something that was previously top secret until a couple of days ago. It is the National Intelligence Council Memorandum dated 15 January 2020. Title, Vulnerabilities in the U.S. 2020 Election Infrastructure. President Trump outlined this, and 4 or 5, was it, other areas of huge concern. China buying vast swatches, batches of data, 200 million, stealing it essentially. You know, when Visa loses 200 or 50,000 credit card customers' information, that's huge news. China, 220 million files on American voters. That is absolutely terrifying. That is, and it's not to be ignored. It's not to be downplayed. Our adversary, China, has some of the critical, most private information about every American citizen. What they could do with it, we don't know fully, but it is very bad that they have it. They raised concerns. He raised concerns about electronic voting systems, about false registrations taking place in Michigan, 200,000 false non-citizens actually requesting ballots, and 80,000 of them voting, non-citizens voting in the 2020 presidential election. This is huge. This is historic. And I'll continue from this document. This is the intelligence community, the vaunted intelligence community. We judge that U.S. adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure for the 2020 presidential election. Adversaries gaining access to U.S. election-related systems could disrupt the voting process, steal sensitive data, or undermine confidence in the election results. But we do not know whether any of them have specific plans to manipulate election-related systems. Russia almost certainly reconnoitered all U.S. state election networks during the 2016 election cycle, assessed election-related infrastructure in at least 2 states, and exfiltrated voter data from at least 1 state. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea are all capable of conducting similar operations during the 2020 election cycle, judging from their known cyber capabilities and past operations. The availability of sophisticated computer network intrusion or attack tools on the dark web give additional countries and non-state actors the potential capability to interfere in the election. We judge that cyber criminals and hacktivists with an H, could also target election infrastructure for financial or political reasons based on past incidents possibly or definitively attributed to such groups. I shall continue through this amazing document. And all this is published before COVID. And COVID basically blew everything wide open, right? Whatever measly safeguards we had that were already penetrated or penetratable, COVID, we just opened the doors. We just put everything down. The president laid all this out last night in a very coherent, cogent, direct talk with the American people. the utter disgrace that is the media continued. It's not really worth complaining about anymore. They disgrace themselves once again. I'm at a loss, really. How can you call yourself news when the President of the United States is speaking and you won't show it? All you will do is minimize and dismiss what he's saying before you've even heard it. Tony DeCopel, Major Garrett, who the hell else? How do these people look at themselves in the mirror? It's just incredible. It is incredible. And I have to tell you, conservative media is not picking up the slack. Some people are, absolutely, and some news organizations are. But what Fox News did, they held their nose about all of this. I can't believe, I like Sean Hannity in so many ways. But he did this, they showed the speech. Did they show all of it? I'm not 100% sure if they showed all of it. And then he went right on to other news at the end of it. Wouldn't go through the documents. Well, I don't have time. Well, do it in real time. Show everybody like I did. I'm going through the documents as we speak. I did it last night. You have to. You're just going to you're going to do your homework? Is your whole show going to be on it tonight, Sean? What are you thinking? What are you doing? You're playing into the Democrats' hands. They've already dismissed it, so you're dismissing it. Another dirty little secret about conservative media. If the fake news doesn't make a big deal out of it, there's nothing for conservative media to complain about, right? We like to complain about how they do it, what they do. We don't ever like to do the work on our own. It's far easier to just complain about how the New York Times did something. So forget them forever. Forget them forever. Back to this red hot, formerly top secret document from the National Intelligence Council. We assess that at least Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea have the capability to access, potentially manipulate data. We assess that centralized election data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use access to these systems to disrupt the election process. Now, why is this important? Do you remember everybody saying that this was the safest, most fair election, most secure election in American history? Now, through common sense, we knew that wasn't true because of COVID, and they blew up all the laws and said you could vote any which way. You put a silly drop box for ballots in the street. That's not secure. That's not how you vote. But you did in COVID. So that already was ludicrous. And now we have the intelligence community knew it. And it looks like the intelligence community kept this information from the President of the United States. The deep state, telling the president, not telling the president what he needed to know. We have to protect democracy from President Trump. Remember that? Remember, they still say that President Trump is a threat to the country, threat to the Constitution. So they gave themselves the moral and even legal authority to sabotage him, to not inform him. These vast intelligence agencies that we have, why do we have all this intelligence? Why do we have all these spy agencies? Why do we, right? Like, what are we going to do with all this information that we get when we spy on people? We have to make decisions based off of this data. Who is the key decision maker? The President of the United States. So you're keeping data back from the person who is supposed to be the one making the decisions. What are you doing it? It is totally corrupt. It is totally un-American. It is totally anti-constitutional. This reinforces what I've stated all along, that there was a coup, an active coup against President Trump, waged actually on and off. It was successful. It was in many ways successful. Also, they were ultimately defeated. But if you keep this out of the hands of the President of the United States, he gets his hands on it 6 years later. 6 years later. Why would they do that? Let's see here. Vote administration systems vulnerable to local exploitation. I'll go through this. This, at a minimum, says that these adversaries of ours had targeted and were working actively to do all of these, to undermine our systems in every way, including, by the way, paying journalists to write stories that were anti-Trump, pro-Democrat, perhaps pro-China, and the rest. Now, that's going to be big. We're expecting more documents to be posted, possibly. I'll go back to the White House website. I was just there about 10 minutes ago. One little problem I had last night, these things were in zip files. Has anybody ever used a zip file before? I I think I saw a zip file on a website I used to subscribe to 10 years ago. I don't think a zip file. I'm like, where is my zip recruiter? Where is my zip conversion thing? I had a big problem with that, but I was able to access it. Now, some of the documents are redacted heavily. I have this: analysis of U.S. voter registration information from 18 states, plans to conduct U.S. person matching and public opinion analysis. This is 6 pages. The first page is redacted. The second page is about 80% redacted. I'm just going to give this a try. The PRC, that's the People's Republic of China, redacted. Analysis on U.S. voter registration data from 18 states, redacted. It obtained from the redacted. Voter registration records from the midterm elections, redacted. Types of information on registered voters, redacted. Contained of personal identifiable information, also called PII, and would be used, redacted. 2, redacted. Mining PII on U.S. citizens, redacted. Could be used as a redacted. Resource to analyze, discover, redacted. The identities of important U.S. targets, redacted. The redacted. Information would be used to conduct U.S. redacted. General election, redacted. Analysis, redacted. Furthermore, redacted. Continue, redacted. State voter registration data. Jeez. The People's Republic of China, redacted. Analysis on redacted. U.S. voter registration data from 18 states, comma, redacted. And it goes on like this, all right? It's almost impossible. Other than the People's Republic of China was certainly onto something. They accessed voter names, birthdays, home mailing address, political party affiliation. You know, every time Visa makes a screw-up like this, or American Express, it's front page news in the Wall Street Journal. How are our friends over there at the Wall Street Journal? Has Rupert Murdoch gotten over his aversion to President Trump? Right? It's amongst the billionaires, right? There's a real billionaire kind of thing, these guys. You know, Rupert Murdoch thinks he should be the president. He should be the emperor. He should be the UN Secretary General, Tom Brady, President of the United States, Prime Minister of Australia, all wrapped up into one. After all, he's the real billionaire, President Trump. Oh, no. It's all branding. It's all this. It's all that. There's a jealousy there, folks. Jealousy. It impacts so much of our world. Our world is fallen and corrupt, especially the legal profession. Forget the media. Everybody knows that. But the legal profession is in total shambles. You know, there are investigations going on right now into these matters. They are woefully understaffed. That's one of the reasons why we're getting this stuff late. The deep state is slow-walking them. There are a lot of people who call themselves MAGA, who are Republican, who are conservative, who work in this administration, who are going to be in politics no matter who is president. You know what I mean? They love Washington. They love the swamp. They want to be in the game. Maybe they want to hold office themselves someday. They want to be rich. Trump, MAGA, doesn't really have that much to do with it. They would be there anyway. And every day they bathe themselves in an electronic bath of fake news and Trump derangement and rejection, right? You have to really seek out and go out of your way to get conservative media sometimes. And I'm not counting Fox, for crying out loud. They have disappointed. I am done with them forever after what they did with what I'm holding in my hands right now. Forget them. But they need lawyers. They need good lawyers with experience, and they can't get them. Why is that? Because they're freaked out about what's going to happen to them afterward, right? You leave the Trump administration, what kind of job are you going to get in the legal world, right? It's not something. You used to be working for the White House. That was great, a feather in your cap. You could write your own ticket. We had lawyers after the first administration, unemployed for a long period of time. We had people who were disbarred, good people. Not just like, major names, luminaries like Rudy Giuliani, who was disbarred. But guys like Jeff Clark, guys like Stefan Positano, who wasn't disbarred, but he just about nearly was. He was the one who, all he did was represent Cassidy Hutchinson. Cassidy Hutchinson, that treacherous woman I have documented. Anyway, they don't have enough people helping on this stuff. It is still an insurgent movement. Even though the president is the president, Donald Trump is where he is, this is an insurgent movement. And one of the ways they keep it an insurgent movement, right? That if you want to raise a family, if you want to have a nice life, if you want to flourish as a lawyer, you can't go there. You can't, a lot of the people they have working on it are second careers. They've already done so they can do this. And I'm so grateful that they are. But they're not raising families. They've already done all that stuff. It's not the way it should be. This guy, oh shoot, there's the music, forgive me. All right. More on these documents and the president's speech itself. I got to run big chunks of it. If you didn't see it, you must. If you did see it, you have to watch or listen again. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You're back. And by the way, I don't want to convey that all this stuff is redacted. That happened to be one section that had heavy redactions. But no, most of this stuff is incredibly readable, important. For instance, I have in my hand a declassified Federal Bureau of Investigation electronic communication. Let's see, dated March 16th of 2021. Now, it doesn't matter. It matters a little bit. It matters occasionally that in March of 2021, Joe Biden was president. Now, I say it matters a little bit. It doesn't always matter. It matters sometimes. You got to be careful about this. For instance, the intelligence assessment, or what was it? The memorandum that I was just reading from about North Korea, Russia, China, all of our adversaries, and their targeting of infrastructure and their capabilities to do so, voting infrastructure. That was dated January of 2020. And those who are looking at these documents, and very few people are, but those who are want to discount them, and they'll say, well, January of 2020, who was president then, Greg? President Trump, right? So it was his responsibility. What did he do about all this stuff? Well, you have to understand that the intelligence community was sabotaging actively President Trump. Federal law enforcement was sabotaging actively President Trump. We know, and President Trump said last night, you could say alleged, or you could say, I'm going to say we know, that this material, some of it was deliberately kept from President Trump. You hear this all the time. Well, they were concerned about sharing secrets with the president because they didn't know what he would do with them. Well, that's not for your concern, bureaucrat nobody, right? You are not the decision maker. He is. This is basically, it's a glorified library with one person, one customer, right? You're just librarians, okay? And there's one person who comes in, and it's the president. And you are to present him material and brief him, and we don't trust you to do so. We know, and you didn't. I mean, this is proof. This is proof. But I'll go back to the FBI document that I have right here. So it doesn't, I just want to point out again, this is early in the Biden administration, and why it's relevant here is this is an FBI report that uncovered suspicious activity, possible wrongdoing, and it authorized an investigation into something pretty significant that happened in Michigan. 8,000, tens of thousands of false applications for ballots, and many of them from non-citizens. So, and before I start reading from this, you got to remember, any federal document, the basic mission of a federal document is CYA, cover your ass, right? To absolve responsibility, to document everything, almost to a fault. I mean, to a fault. And it's very hard to get things going, to get things advanced. But here, they actually do advanced. Let's see here. State of Michigan election laws, sensitive investigation matter. The synopsis of this document is to open a full investigation and notify the public corruption unit of the case opening. All right, so that's the intent of this 6-page unclassified memo. Sensitive investigative matter. The above captioned matter is not a sensitive investigation matter. You see what I mean about the cover your ass, right? So it's titled, number one, sensitive investigation matter. The line right after that is, the above captioned matter is not a sensitive investigation matter. I just, I remember, the regulations of the FBI, right? They contradict each other, right? At the end of the day, you're like, what the hell are we supposed to do? And the answer is really not much. All right, hang around, worry about the Bureau, accumulating power and blowing off Congress and not getting into trouble. All right, not getting into trouble in that, not let anyone else find out what the hell it is you're up to. All right, what do we have here? The FBI Detroit field office was informed that the Michigan State Police, the Michigan Attorney General, and the Muskegon Police Department were investigating allegations of fraudulent voter registrations being submitted to the Muskegon City Clerk's office. Now, that's really something. That's not just some blogger, right? That's not some guy with a Twitter account. That's not Laura Loomer. All right. Now, I like Laura, and she's good, but it's not just one person. These are entities, baby. These are the state police and the Michigan Attorney General, whose name I believe was Nussel. I'm not sure, not 100%. Nussel, Nussel. I'll check that. I know the Secretary of State of Michigan at the time was a corrupt woman by the name of Jocelyn Benson, who still has that job and is still corrupt. Let's see here. The Muskegon County Clerk's Office determined the bulk of applications were sent by estimated redacted, delivered between 8 and 10,000 registrations. Redacted informed the Muskegon City Clerk's Office investigators that she worked for blank under its owner blank and that she was paid for voter registration work. The matter was referred to law enforcement by the Muskegon City Clerk's Office. Now, this is Michigan. Can somebody look up for me how many votes Joe Biden, quote unquote, won Michigan by in 2020? You see, they hide behind a couple of things. There was no widespread fraud in the 2020 election. Well, I beg to differ, but it doesn't take widespread fraud. It could be located in this little, it almost sounds silly. Forgive me, Muskegon, but your city sounds a little bit silly to me. It sounds like Skokie or something like that. It sounds like something I heard in the Blues Brothers. All right. I'm a bit of a city slicker. Forgive me. These names, Muskegon County. Oh, it's just Muskegon County. Yahoo Central. No. This is 8,000 votes can mean the difference in however many electoral votes are in Michigan. What is it, 15? The matter was referred to law enforcement. A subsequent investigation by Michigan State Police found a number of prepaid debit cards located at blank office based in blank, raising concerns that blank as paying people to register. An in-depth summary of the predication setting forth the relevant facts and circumstances, including witness allegations. That's the next section. Since on or about October 5th of 2020, the Muskegon City Clerk's Office received 6 packages marked blank via U.S. mail containing voter registration applications. The office determined some of the applications were fraudulent based on a number of factors. Muskegon determined the bulk of the applications were sent by blank as blank also hand-delivered numerous applications with indicators of potential fraud. Muskegon County Police Department estimated and blank had delivered between 8... all right, I got to do something real quick. Can somebody tell me what was the margin of difference in the vote in Michigan? Hey, Justin, can you take a quick look at that if you don't mind? Because I'm pretty sure it was well under 100,000. So we're talking about 10% of the vote. Now, maybe it was more. I think it was very, very minimal. Let's see here. Michigan, 2020 presidential. You know what I should be using? AI. Here, I'm Googling this crap. AI is much easier, but I don't have a good AI chatbot on my phone. Presidential Biden, Trump. Let's see here. The totals were, got here, popular vote, that's 2020, 2.8 million for Joe Biden and 2.65 million for Donald Trump. 16 electoral votes. I was off by 1. So it's 150,000 votes. And of that, we're talking about 10,000 votes right here. And this is one office. This is one county. This is just one area. It doesn't take a lot of fraud to make a difference. And we know that this probably was also happening in Detroit. In fact, I'm told that documents are coming about Detroit. This is what we call outcome determinative, right? Outcome determinative. It could have made a difference in who was president in 2021, i.e., there's a very Donald Trump could have won this thing outright. Now, I think that already. I think that. I can't prove that, but I suspect that. Since on or about October 5th, okay, the packages came in. They conducted a non-custodial review where they informed the investigators that she worked for blank. Okay, it goes on like this. Let me see if I can find. Well, all of this is important, for God's sake. I don't want to downplay or skip through anything. Forgive me. Under its owner, blank, and that she was paid for voter registration work. Michigan State Police investigators subsequently conducted an interview on October 20th, 2020. She stated she was first-level supervisor overseeing canvassers, with canvassing being conducted in Muskegon, Detroit, Southfield, Flint, and Lansing. These are heavily Democrat cities, by the way. Depressed cities, I should point out. Flint, Michigan. Remember, Michael Moore made all kinds of documentaries about what a crummy town Flint is. Michigan State Police investigators, canvassers were paid through a reloadable pay card, and that canvassers, they're only talking to one here, so there were others doing the same thing. This one had 10,000. How many other canvassers were there? It sounds like there were enough to make a 150,000 vote difference. And that made the difference in the whole damn election. 16 electoral votes. On October 22nd, 2020, Michigan State Police investigators received authorization to track blank movements via this. This is real, everybody. This is the stuff that we've been called conspiracy theorists, right? Election deniers. We have been so marginalized, so penalized for just keeping ourselves open to this possibility. And it was not only a possibility, it was happening, for crying out loud. Michigan State Police subsequently received authorization to search. This is real, people. This is real. And we have Democrat organizations, right? The Michigan State Attorney General. Michigan, at the time, the governor, I believe, was Democrat. It's a Democrat state. It's generally a blue state. That's why it shocked the world in 2016 that President Trump was able to pull it off. Some people would push back and say that, no, it's kind of a swing state, it's kind of purplish, and there's something to be said for that, but very, very Democrat by the time 2020. And that Jocelyn Benson I told you about hanging around. The identification of all known SIMs or significant issues involved in the investigation. The allegations involve potential payments for registrations for the 2020 national election and concern matters which require the concurrence of the DOJ Public Integrity Section, Election Crimes Unit, and the FBI PCU as documented in sections 10 below. Now that's really something. Part of this document seems to be setting the ground. Okay, we have all this information, but for us to continue in our investigation, we have to have concurrence between the DOJ Public Integrity Section Election Crimes Unit and the FBI PCU. Well, let's skip ahead to Section 6. I wonder what they said. Let's see here. Do we have it? Yes. Notification to PCU and DOJ. Per PCU Program Guide 23.10/1, Section 2, Tact 2, on March 11, 2021, DOJ Attorney redacted, excuse him, wow, what the hell is that? Redacted, on March 16, 2021, was apprised of the same by verbal notification and concurred with the opening. All right, so an investigation was opened. They concurred. I thought they weren't going to concur. They concurred. This is incredibly significant. Anybody tells you that this was much ado about nothing last night is either lying or more likely a lazy, ignorant fool. All right? That's what's, they're always lying, or they're just not even giving a damn and breaking a sweat, right? Too many viral moments. Oh, my gosh, isn't that John Ossoff handsome? Let's watch him. Oh, wow, he really... What a broken and fallen country, everybody. But it's not going to be that way forever. This was major. This was huge. Thank you to President Trump. And anybody I know in the conservative media owes it to him to get to the bottom of this matter, to pick apart these documents, to internalize them, to understand them, and to demand more, and to know what you're talking about when it comes to this stuff. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Did you watch the speech? More importantly, did you go to the website? WhiteHouse.gov. It's still there at the very top. You hit on that little thing, and it's got all the documents. Now, the documents are just a little tricky, slightly tricky. When I saw zip, I hit it, and it was downloading, and it downloaded, and I'm like, okay, now where the hell do I find this stuff? It's somewhere in my computer. It's somewhere in my iPad. And that was for me the hard part, and I found it, and then, okay, how do I do this? And then I got it, and then, okay, it's like, damn, let's understand it. Let's keep them coming. This is more substantive. This is more, this is dynamite compared to the Russia collusion. Russia collusion was nothing. There was no Russia collusion, number one. Even that the late, not so great Robert Mueller said that there was no collusion. But they tricked him. They tricked him into thinking that $100,000 in Facebook ads was enough to move the election, right? Move the election, influence the election. $100,000 in Facebook ads. I think WABC spends more on that every 10 days or so. All right, but they would dress it up. Well, that meant there were 90 million impressions. What is an impression? What does that actually mean? That means that like 90 million, yeah, the internet, potentially anybody can see it, but most people don't. 90 million sounds like a lot. There are literally infinity pages on the internet, trillions and trillions and trillions of pages, if you will. All right, do me a favor. I want to talk, I'm going to start at the top of this speech. Now, he did do a little bit of a summary, right? That's where he started. I didn't really start paying attention until the election stuff. All right, let me hear the very top, and then we're probably going to skip ahead. Can you, I guess it's cut one, right, Justin? Give it a shot.
Good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster after the worst inflation in 48 years.
Okay. So this is, at this point, we can stop it there. At this point, it's kind of like it's a mini State of the Union, right? A little bit of a tour of the world, an update on Iran, and it's all good. It's a warm-up, okay? About a couple of minutes in, I think it's 6 minutes, he starts getting to the stuff that we've been all waiting for, okay? Let's go ahead and please pick it up there, Justin. Thank you.
Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes like levels never thought possible to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken.
A lot of people did last night. I had luck. I got there right away. The website was down. And it is a little bit tricky to find it. So if you go to whitehouse.gov, and I should let him know this. You got to go to the very, very top. They should have a red box or something like that, but they don't. It's the very, very top. It talks about the election integrity stuff, and it doesn't look like a thing that you would click. Right? We got to change that thing, but it's minor. Pick it up, please.
Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening.
All right, we're
this
going
data loss
much more to come.
Unprecedented.
Much more to come. We owe it to him, and we owe it not only to him but to the country. We owe it to America to master this material, to get it out there, to explain it, to not be chased away because the cool kids aren't talking about it, because Vaughn Hilliard, and the Today Show. Hey, by the way, what the hell happened with that racist guy showing up there yesterday? Haslin Fat Al Roker, although he's no longer fat. Good guy, by the way. I've always been intrigued by him. All right, major day in American history. Many thanks to the president. Much more on these documents to be continued. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?